everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Corks and Confessions, where we pour a glass of wine and we also pour at our hearts. I am one of your hosts, Jeanette.
And I am Phoenix. And we are so happy to have you today.
Absolutely.
As every episode, we're delighted that you've joined us in our conversations.
Yes.
Today, this is a little hard of a topic for me. We've had a back and forth on figuring out where our stance is on
Asking for help.
Yes.
Asking for help. Some people have a hard time asking for help. Sometimes it's easy for people to ask for help, and some people just cannot stop asking. Seriously.
That is so true.
Confessions for the day. I actually had one confession, and then right before we started this, I kind of changed it. So my confession today is I struggle with asking for help. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It's difficult.
It is difficult. I can't wait to hear your stories.
Why I'm like,
And
why
why
I am the way I am.
Why that is your confession. I feel like I relate, but in a much different way. Like I feel like my confession is similar, but completely different in its backbone. Like
Okay.
my confession is, what was my confession? My confession is I will exhaust myself, but I like it. Like I will exhaust every option I have to help myself before I ask for help. But I embrace that.
You enjoy that. You like it, right?
I do. I like it. It's not that I like needing help, obviously, but if I do, maybe I'm a control freak. Maybe is that what it is? I just like taking care of every situation that I need.
Yeah, you can handle your own needs.
Yeah, I guess.
So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, wine for the day. We are drinking.
Phantom.
Yes. And tell them why you bought this particular bottle of wine, Phoenix. Tell the people why you bought this wine.
Because October is my favorite month. And
because it's your birthday month.
It's my birthday month. It's Scorpio month.
And as you can see, it's a very cool kind of spooky bottle.
It is. It's a very Halloween bottle.
Okay, so Phantom is a red blend from California. It's pretty delicious. I like it.
I like it too. It's nice and dry.
Yeah, it's not sweet. It's dry. Let's see. We're going to take a taste. It's good. It actually has a lot of cherry notes in the front.
Yeah, it's definitely sweeter than the last one. I think you have a better palate than me.
I have been a couple wine tastings. I'm there. But if we're going to talk about perfumes, you're like the perfume girl. So.
That is true.
Yeah. I just try to think of this as a delicious smelling perfume for my mouth.
That is hilarious. But as soon as you tell me a note or something like that, it's registers in my head and I can taste it. Because when I took a sip, I felt like there was some sort of fruit. You said cherry, and I was like, yep.
Yep, it's cherry, right?
Yes, exactly.
So Phantom, for those on YouTube, you can see the bottle. It's beautiful.
Yes. Look at the bottle and show us when you pick it up.
Yep. I was going to try to take the cork off, but it didn't work. I was going to do some ASMR moments, but it backfired.
Failed.
There
you go.
So one of the reasons I think we initially talked about this topic was, at least for me, I had to reassess at a certain point in my life why it was so difficult to ask for help and why it made me uncomfortable. So I had to do a lot of self-discovery to figure that out. But I came up with some questions that I would love to hear the answer, because asking for help comes in many ways, right? It comes in forms of emotional support. And then there's the run-of-the-mill, can you cat or dog sit, or can I borrow this or borrow that? And so I have these questions I'm going to ask. And as an adult...
Wait, I don't know these questions.
No.
Oh.
Well, I might have casually discussed that I was going to be asking you questions, so we'll see. As an adult female, how do you feel about someone asking you to help them mow their lawn?
Oh, what? Did you...
Is that like a hard pass, or is that like, it's a big lawn and maybe I can come and pitch in?
Okay. The first thing that goes through my head is maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. This surprises me.
It surprised me too as soon as I felt it. Because I thought, well, I will get a good workout.
Oh, you're like, I'm going to sweat it out, so I'm going to help you out.
I can help you out, and I'll sweat it out, and then maybe I'll get a tan while I'm at it. Like, I don't know. And did
more
you break
outside time?
More outside time. Did you break your legs? What's the story? So
okay,
I'm more
nice.
inclined to do that.
Yeah. So for most of these questions, my answer might be the same, and it might be depends.
What's the story?
What's the circumstance?
What's the reason?
But then some of these are like hard pass. Okay, so
I'm curious.
Helping someone move, like actually going into their apartment and like packing stuff up, or is there? I won't put limits. Helping someone move, go. Would you help somebody do that?
I will not help you pack.
Okay,
That's a hard pass.
okay.
And I want to say it's a hard pass to helping you move too. But then again, I'm thinking like, that's probably a good workout too.
So I remember doing this like back, like when you're in college, like it's, you're having to move around, and the more people, the better. You just provide them beer and pizza and like, let's move stuff out of my apartment. So I do remember doing that a lot. Now as an adult, like a true adult, my back ain't. It depends. Like, it depends.
Oh.
That's my answer for that. It depends. Really? Because here's the thing. I helped my grandma move into a nursing home. That's different.
That's way different.
You know what I mean? So it depends, right? It depends.
I don't think that counts.
No?
No, I don't think that counts. Well, because for me, so like I'm thinking that's a hard pass. Like, bottom line, I would get movers. But because the mowing the lawn, I really think something happened to you.
So you're
asking for help.
Even though they could call a lawn service.
Okay, yeah, that's true. So maybe that's a hard pass too.
Okay, borrowing your car.
Oh no. That's a hard pass.
Guess what my answer is?
Depends.
I am, like, in general, a very helpful human being.
You really are.
I do like to help people.
Yes.
But I guess it just, like, what's the circumstance? In general, I feel like probably not, because there's Uber now, and like there's so many other options. Yeah. So that might be a hard pass for me too.
Can we just put a baseline of like, if you're dying and need help, sure.
Yeah.
But
yes,
let's just keep this
casual.
So.
This is like a casual help situation.
So no.
Okay, here's party planning. Is there only big party planning that you would be willing to do, or is it like little party planning too?
What's big party planning?
Like bachelorette, wedding shower, baby shower, those kinds of things.
So, man, I feel like horrible. But I just, you know what? I think I don't like it. I don't like even planning my own party.
You don't like party planning. You like parties.
I like going.
Yeah. I like attending.
I will definitely get you a good gift.
You're a good gift giver.
But I don't like planning anything. Yeah. And I'm not good at it. I get overwhelmed very easily.
Okay. So it's like more overwhelming.
Yeah, I can't function. Like we're having trouble right now planning my birthday, and that's very minimal for like a day, and I can't even do that.
You're like, I don't know.
I don't know. Let's cancel.
So for me, party planning, I love planning a party.
Yeah.
I enjoy the details. Yeah. I like the thought process. I like coming up with themes, and I make checklists, and I like, if someone asks me to help them plan a party, I'd be like, yeah, when is it? What's the budget?
Yeah.
Do I need to ask other people for their money?
That's really cute.
So
I
that's
see
like I enjoy doing that kind of stuff.
do.
So yeah, sign me up, buttercup. That's what I say.
Well, I love that for you. I would love for you to plan my bachelorette party and then not get married. What
do you mean?
Imagine. I was just trying to be funny. But I mean, like, I would love, like,
Can I have a bachelorette party without
the marriage.
Is that a thing?
But honestly, I would love, like, more party planning going into my bachelorette than the wedding. Like, the wedding, I just, like, get a pretty dress, walk down, or whatever.
I will say this, that I planned the best a bachelorette party for one of my closest friends that I grew up with.
Yeah.
It was themed.
I bet.
It was called Alter Ego. So there was wardrobe changes. There was,
I would kill you.
yeah,
I
there
would
was a photo. There was a photographer.
Oh,
We had jewelry and makeup and wigs. It was like, I tried to provide as much as possible so that you wouldn't have to like do that much. Like you come and you bring two outfits, but yeah, it was wild. It was wild. So it was so much fun. So obviously asking for help as an adult changes over time. I feel like as children, I don't know about your upbringing, but for me, it wasn't that big of a deal to ask for little things. But I felt like for the most part, I was raised to be like this super independent individual. So I find now, because I was raised to like be an independent, strong woman, as far as my confession goes, when I say that I have a difficult time asking for help, probably stems from that. I feel like it stems from feeling like I should be able to handle everything on my own. I shouldn't be asking others for help because of how it made me feel to do so. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is I noticed as an adult, if I did have to ask for help, it made me feel like I was a burden to other people. I'm trying to decide how deep I actually want to get into this because I was
trying to decide that too as you're talking. Cause
like, how deep do I want to go? How much do I actually want to share? And if we're going to be honest, this podcast is about pouring our hearts out. So I will share a little bit about growing up. I grew up in a very non-traditional family, meaning that I was not raised by my mother or my father. I was raised by my aunt and my uncle. And so having lived in a household where my primary caretakers were not my parents, I started establishing this need to not need things, if that makes sense. I decided, and it wasn't like a conscious decision, like from this day forward, I will be independent and strong and need no one in my life. It wasn't like that. It was just wanting to make sure that I wasn't a burden or an extra burden on the people who took me in, who were taking care of me. And I know I wasn't a burden. I know that psychologically, like, I know that mentally, like logically thinking about that, it makes no sense to think that I was a burden. They did it out of love. You know what I'm saying? But it still doesn't mean that I didn't carry these feelings of
misplacement? Or?
Not misplacement. It was like, let me do everything I can. I'm going to be a good kid. I'm going to get good grades. I am going to be helpful around the house. I'm going to do all these things so that I'm not a burden to people and a burden to the people who are taking care of me. And it's difficult to acknowledge that that's kind of where it stems from, because then I have literally put myself in a less than position, that I am somehow less than, and that my seeking of help is somehow weak or something, which I hate sounding like. It's admitting that you are vulnerable. It's that whole admission of I'm vulnerable, I need help. And it was difficult, and it's still difficult for me to admit when I need somebody.
You feel that you were put in a vulnerable position.
I think as I grew up, realized that, especially when I was on my struggle bus college days, that there's just no possible way that a human being can get through life without needing help, whether that's like emotional support or sometimes financial. There's a couple times in college when like I did not have the money to pay for my car insurance and I had to call home, and it was like painful to ask, but also what a blessing that I have somebody that I can call to help me out. But it wasn't easy, and sometimes that would be followed by guilt after doing something like that, like, oh, I'm still not good enough, still haven't, been able to provide everything for myself.
So that was a guilt, self-inflicted guilt?
Definitely partially self-inflicted
Partially
guilt.
self-inflicted.
Yeah, partially self-inflicted. I don't know if I want to talk too much about how guilt played in my family dynamics as far as like needing help. It happens. People make you feel guilty if you need something.
I can riff off of that. I mean, I think I've just realized now about this topic as we're getting ready, preparing to film this podcast, that, everything you feel growing up kind of, it's part of your development. Mm-hmm. So I definitely have many memories of how any time you're asking for help, maybe you're given it, but it always came with a guilt-ridden feeling that,
or not quite as like, the heart wasn't maybe quite as willing, or maybe
just some sort of lesson that you need to learn, or
a lecture.
Yeah, or something that's just not like, oh, this child or this person needs help, let me give it. It's always with this inconvenience to the situation. So I definitely have, I can riff off of that, and why. Maybe that's why I exhaust myself to just fix everything, and I gain pleasure from that, because maybe I'm like, yes, I can do it. I can do it. And I, for the most part, unless it's a real dire situation, then I can take care of everything myself.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. As far as like your confession goes, I always feel like you look a little nervous.
Oh no, because I'm like, why doesn't she ask me these things when we're prepping these episodes?
Because
she's a sneaky snake.
I am not a sneaky snake, because honestly, it's like as we talk and dive deeper, we kind of talk surfacely beforehand, but like as we dive deeper into these topics, then I'm like, I wonder this. And I'm a curious person and I like to ask questions. That's also.
But you do catch me. You left hook me there. And I'm like, what? We didn't discuss any of this.
So in your confession, you said that you actually enjoy being able to provide and do everything for yourself. And I actually can relate to that.
Yes.
Because I think that comes with being raised to be a strong, independent woman, right? Okay. So my question is, does it feel less successful, or do you feel less joy when somebody gives you the assist? And I put it like basketball. Here I am with my metaphors, people. Here we go.
Hey, I used to play basketball.
So in basketball, just because you're not the one shooting the ball into the hoop, there's always an assist. Same with soccer, right? Mm-hmm. There's all these steps to get to the end goal. In all of the sense, when you write strong, independent woman, I think you. Does it feel less joyful if you, like, all those things can't be taken away from you? Is it less joyful when you do have to ask for help? Even though the end goal is to be this amazing, successful, entrepreneurial woman?
I have to say it doesn't. I feel like, because if it comes down to a point where I do ask for help, I feel like I've exhausted everything. And I feel like the person on the receiving end, now that I know who is my soul and who I can count on and who will know that I actually, like, I need help.
Right.
I feel like the filters of, oh, she's asking for help, I feel like all that is taken away.
It just disappears.
It disappears, and I am like,
it doesn't feel like a favor.
No, it doesn't feel like I'm like, I need help. I need whatever it is. I need your help. So
Yeah.
I don't feel weakness at that point.
But do you feel less joy though? Like if you accomplished a big goal with the help of somebody else, does it feel less joyful in that moment that you succeeded? Like for example, you went to school for a really long time. You studied really hard. You worked your ass off. I was there, a witness to it. You sacrificed so much for that goal. But I know that you didn't do entirely everything by yourself all the time.
Yeah.
Do you feel less joy in that success because you had assistance?
I don't, because I do, in that sense, I do feel an immense amount of gratitude for the help that I did get.
Okay.
Whatever it was from the people at that time.
Okay.
Whether it was emotional or, or with Chewy or around the house or, I just feel an immense amount of gratitude. So it
doesn't take away from.
No, if anything, it adds to it at that point, I feel. Because it was so hard, like so difficult, time-wise, just. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's how I think about that.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It made me think, because I never actually even thought about that.
I never actually thought about it for myself either.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like, if I were to think back on, like, accomplishing something really major and, like, I know I didn't get there by myself. And so that's why I've started to stop kind of punishing myself.
Do you feel like you punish yourself?
Yeah, I really was not very kind to myself if I needed something from somebody.
I do know that now, and it actually breaks my heart because I know you. Yeah. And I know you're the same as me in the sense of you're not just asking for, like, if you ask for help, you need help. It's not, so it does break my heart feeling like you would feel any sort of weakness reaching out.
Yeah. And okay.
Especially in certain times of your life.
And I think you kind of know where I'm going with this. So just to share with you guys, I lost my dad and it was really hard. But he battled with Alzheimer's for a long time, plus other health issues. And when he passed away, and this is what made me reflect, it was obviously a very, very difficult time, but the actual process of laying him to rest was so stressful, was so anxiety ridden, was really lonely. And I had all these people pouring support and offering support and asking me, what can I do to help you? How can I be there for you? And I couldn't take it. I couldn't take the help. And let me tell you, I really needed it. I needed help. And I don't ever want anyone listening out there to ever feel like they should suffer because it's weak to ask for what you need, because it is actually a strength. I would have been a stronger human to accept the help that was offered to me. So if anything, I hope I can leave people with that lesson that you don't have to go through things alone. People will surprise you by stepping up if you allow them to do it. And I remember having this conversation with you. It was a couple months after, and I told you I was in a really bad place. I was really alone. I felt like I didn't have anybody. And you were surprised. You were like, do you remember that conversation?
I remember the feeling.
Yeah.
But you've given me that feeling a few times. And I think because we've known each other for so long, and I remember moments of our friendship and like kind of what you were going through, but not really. And so
letting people in to what's actually happening. And
so I've been quite surprised a few times.
So I think that's why this topic was so important for me, because when it comes to mental health, there are struggles in my family with mental health. And I want to encourage people that it's okay to seek help. It's okay to say you're not okay. It's okay not to be the strong one all the time. And you can still be a badass bitch, strong, independent woman who needs someone to help them out with whatever they're going through.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and going off of that, I do consider myself all those things, and I've sought for therapy since I was a teenager.
Yes.
So that's a form of asking for
It
help.
absolutely is. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
It is absolutely
Yeah.
asking for help because you can't have all the answers.
No.
I mean,
you need perspective. Even if you don't, I think even if, a lot of people are scared to ask for therapy because they're not going to vibe with that certain therapist, or they're scared they're not going to be understood. But it's also a process. But
absolutely.
The process, like, even if you don't vibe with one therapist, like the process of looking and experiencing like why you didn't and like getting it out is very helpful.
It's like shopping for mechanics.
Yeah.
Not every mechanic can be trusted. There's a lot of trustful mechanics out there. I know tons of them.
I have one. Thank God.
But sometimes it's like dating a mechanic. Like when you're taking your car, it's like, can I trust you with my baby?
Yeah, that's true.
Can I
what
trust
are you
this?
do?
Yeah. Do they have the right advice? Are they giving you the parts and pieces that you need for the car?
It's like surgery.
Yeah. All those things.
We're like surgeons.
You need to date your therapist for a little bit to figure out if it's going to be a fit. And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. And they might be a fit for a little bit, and then you move on.
Exactly. So for anyone who might be wondering,
we're not sponsored by BetterHelp yet.
But we hope to be. Absolutely put that in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
We're all about that.
I will say that providing emotional support for me comes very easily for people, even if I don't like you. Seriously, even if I have a problem like with someone, I feel like
you have empathy.
I have empathy for people with their struggles inside. If someone is open and vulnerable to asking for help and trying to figure out their situation, whether it's with
like advice,
whether it's me, our conflict, or whatever it is, emotionally, psychologically, in a vulnerable state, like I will drop what I'm doing to provide that support, whether it's on the phone, over wine, over coffee, to have that depth of a conversation, a back and forth. And even if it's just to listen, I will provide that, because I just feel like that's a very deep need.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you need?
How can I help you? How can I support you? I feel like being a good listener is a trait that takes a lot of practice and patience. And I wish there was more of us around. Just saying. It's hard to find somebody who's really willing to listen and hear your perspective.
Yeah, you always get like, I'll pray for you, or something like that.
I appreciate that too, but
like, yes, please, but
yeah, there's a book called The 5 Love Languages. Okay, yeah, it's a great book by Gary Chapman. The Secret to Love That Lasts. One of the 5 love languages is acts of service. So we kind of talked about asking for help in kind of like this big general way, but when it comes to a partner, like a love relationship, I feel like it's kind of a given. When you're in a partnership, it shouldn't, like when you're helping your partner, it shouldn't feel like, oh, I'm sacrificing for you or something like that. It's just be like a synonymous give, take, cyclical thing. That's how I feel.
I do feel that.
That's the kind of relationship that I'm always striving for, that we're both giving and receiving the same amount, or what feels like it's the same amount.
Let's just say it ebbs and flows too in different periods of your life as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so acts of service, I'll describe it just a little bit. So in case anyone who's out there isn't familiar, the main point is that if your love language is acts of service, you value when your partner goes out of their way to make life easier for you. Things like bringing you soup when you're sick, making you coffee in the morning just the way you like it, picking up your dry cleaning when you're having a busy day. Or for me, it would be like having dinner ready when I come home after a long ass day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you run me a bath, honey. Oh man, you're in for a treat later. But just let me just say that.
We love those treats.
So, yeah, do you think if someone's love language is acts of service, that's how they show love, is it possible to take advantage of someone?
I do, but I think it goes both ways. Like,
Okay.
I do think that I do feel like you can get blinded by acts of service as the receiver. Maybe that's not even your love language, right? But you're like, oh, but he does this and he does that, or she does this, she does that, but that's not really love to you. You need other things.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying if someone's love language, like to show love, is acts of service, like that's what they do to show you love, but you don't receive love in that way, or you don't feel loved in that way.
Or you can feel like appreciation and love, but that's not your romantic love, if
I
that
see.
makes sense. But and on the other way, yeah, if you're riding with that and then this other person just keeps giving you acts of service and they can feel used too.
Especially if you're, if you receive love with physical touch, like if your thing is physical touch, right?
Definitely one of mine.
Then the fact that you take out the trash and make your coffee every day and make you breakfast might not be like a turn on.
Okay, but I have to say there are some things that are a given that are not acts of service, like taking out the trash.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
And bringing you soup.
Oh, when
you're sick. Like
we had a very heated conversation about soup giving when you're sick. She was like,
I got hot. Like I'm hot right now.
She was hot about it. She was like, if someone is sick and you don't bring them soup, you're just rude.
You're just a shitty person. And I gave you some of my memories.
Yes. Yeah. So I think, and each person has their own opinions about that. I'm the kind of person that will be like, oh, you're sick? Let me make you soup from scratch. Like I will make soup from scratch for you.
See, I will buy you some.
I will make homemade broth with bones. And if you're vegan, then I will make a very delicious vegetable broth with lots of vegetables and onions and mushrooms. Get some umami flavor going.
Okay, now I'm hungry.
So I like to show love through acts of service. So I enjoy helping people when they don't even ask for it. Like I get a kick out of seeing someone's face when I not even do them a favor, when I'm just like helpful. I like to make people's life easier. Life is hard. So I enjoy doing that.
No, sorry. Life is easy. I'm just putting that vibe out there.
Oh yeah,
Let's turn that.
Yeah, you're right.
I've been practicing that.
We gotta stop saying life is hard.
Yes, no.
Life has its challenges, but it's fun.
Is easy. It's fun. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I enjoy helping out, whether it's like a project or anything really. I'm usually open for it. I am learning that I can't do everything and be everything to everybody. So that's a balance in and of itself, which is interesting because my confession is that I have a hard time asking for help, but I have no problem whatsoever giving help.
So true.
Yeah.
I just clicked about that for you.
Which is why I realize I need to work on that. I need to release some of that guilt and that, stigma that asking for help is a weakness. I gotta let go of that. I gotta let go of that because I don't ever think somebody's weak when they ask me for help. I never think that about anybody else but myself.
One of the things I do remember you going through a hard time one time, and I remember messaging you, and this was before we got deep into this conversation, but I do it stands out so much to me when you were like, I'm going through this, but I'm okay. And I remember I asked you again. And then in my head, I was like it pained me. It pained my gut because sometimes, I didn't know how to react. I wanted to respect what you were saying, but I was like, how does she not need help right now? I was like, how?
It's not healthy. It's not healthy.
I feel it in my gut right now. I was like, I remember looking at my phone, damn.
And, here's the thing, for anyone out there who's like, she shouldn't be alone. She's got a partner. I was like, yeah, but you can isolate yourself even from your partner.
Oh, you need your girls. friends too.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways to isolate yourself
From your partner.
from
Okay.
anybody.
I didn't even register that.
From getting help from anybody. I just read this like toxic positivity. I was like, am I a toxic positive person? I think sometimes this is like a whole nother podcast topic. But I was going through it and I was like, oh my gosh, I have some of these traits for myself, but not when I'm ever giving advice to other people. I give people so much room to breathe and to feel and to be allowed to feel their feelings. But I'm not as generous to myself, which is something I'm learning and growing and still trying to work out. So, yeah.
I love that for us. I love it for you.
I'm going to start asking for help when I really need it.
Yay.
Yeah.
I always know that if you're asking me for anything, I will drop it and help you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love you too. Especially if it's emotional. Quality time.
And mowing my lawn.
And mowing your lawn.
You thought about it, and it would be a good workout and you get a tan.
Listen, you're far away. If you ask me to mow your lawn, I'll be
I don't even have a lawn to mow.
I know, it's
kidding. Maintenance free. I'm a maintenance free chick. Like, I don't want to mow.
Maybe that'll be our code word.
I need you to mow my lawn?
Yes.
That sounds dirty.
That sounds very dirty. As I'm hearing you and I said it, I was like, wow. I don't have a lawn to mow either, if that makes any sense.
You do have
I don't have a lawn. I got a lawn.
What kind of lawn you have?
I got little stubbies. I got laser hair. All I get is
you got off topic there. That's hilarious.
I have close to soil.
It depends on the month. I'm honest. Okay, we're crazy. We're crazy. I didn't even know what I was saying until I literally said it out loud. I was like,
when I heard you say it, and I said it back, I was like,
that's not our code word. This is not our code word. Definitely not.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month starts in October, and we are so excited to be highlighting an organization that we absolutely love.
Susan G. Komen for the Cure. Susan G. Komen's mission is to save lives by meeting the most critical needs of our communities and investing in breakthrough research to prevent and cure breast cancer.
If you or someone you know is struggling with a new diagnosis or battling with breast cancer, remember, you are not alone.
Folks at Susan G. Komen have so much information and support available for you.
Visit Komen.org to find help and resources.
And if you love podcasts, take a listen to the Susan G. Komen podcast called Real Pink, hosted by Adam Walker.
Episodes feature candid conversations with survivors, researchers, physicians, and more.
Real Pink is available wherever you listen to your podcast.
Or if you want to donate, all of October, we will have a link on our Instagram page at corksandconfessions to donate to Susan G. Komen directly.
Let's take care of each other.
We are all in this together.
Okay, so before we wrap this episode, which has been it feels really good actually to kind of get this off my chest, and it's hard to admit when you're struggling with things, so it actually feels really good to talk about it.
It does.
Yeah.
And to like figure yourself out. Like
yeah.
It's felt really good to think about these questions and talk about them with you and get your perspective. And
and I have really shared a lot of very personal things. I hope people found it relatable.
Yeah. I mean, I do.
So there's a book called MAYDAY, Asking for Help in Times of Need by Nora Klaver, Nora Klaver. And she had some really good and sound advice for if you are struggling to ask for help like I was, things that you can do and healthy ways to go about doing it. Because there is a healthy way to ask for help, actually. I never actually thought about that.
I've never thought about that.
But it kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. So one of the first things is to be straightforward, to ask in specific terms, but not to micromanage. I thought about that and I was like, oh, it kind of makes sense if you're asking for help, not to micromanage how that help is given.
Oh, yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. I think it's healthy for both people, actually.
Yeah. I never thought about that. I'm definitely like, yes, please be direct. Mm-hmm. Like, flat out, tell me. Don't dilly-dally.
Don't dilly-dally. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you need? Be clear
Like,
and
hey,
be straightforward.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
niceties. Just tell me.
Yeah. And then maybe to rely on the less obvious people.
I'm a little confused by that one.
I think it would be like, to me, how I take it is maybe you are someone who constantly asks the same person, and maybe to like spread it around, or go to
Okay.
somebody that you haven't asked in the past, and that person might step up, but to take a less obvious route.
Yeah, that makes sense. I got to think about that one some more. But
Yeah.
I like that thought process.
Yeah, I kind of do too.
Yeah.
To bypass phone calls or email messages or text messages, and to talk to that person directly.
I agree. I will say, though, it's hard to
It's
talk.
really hard.
But I just mean like getting just the availability of like,
I guess
you don't see anybody.
Yeah, and it also depends on like the request. Like, for example, if you're in a mountain of debt and you're not sure how to get out, sometimes the conversations could be hard to have like in person, and you might need to seek help from a professional, and that can be hard to do in person and maybe easier to talk about your finances or what's going on with someone over the phone. That I totally get,
A
but
professional for sure.
yeah,
But if you're asking for help, yeah, that definitely should be done in person.
Yeah.
I do agree with that.
yeah, if you can. And we get it, people are busy, and maybe this kind of help is from somebody who's out of state or in a different country.
That's
and
true.
So I guess it depends, but if you can,
It just made me feel like how out of touch we are, that we really don't see. Maybe it's just me. I don't see anybody.
you're a busy girl.
I don't see anybody. So that's funny.
Okay, she also mentioned to pick up on cues, like how enthusiastic or reluctant is the yes. So if you do get a yes and you're feeling that it's kind of a reluctant yes, move on. You know, if someone's, because the last thing, if I
wouldn't
finally
like
get the courage to ask someone for help, the last thing I need is for someone to be like,
Yeah.
fine.
I know that.
So gauge the situation and try to pick up the cues.
Yeah.
And then the last one is to obviously say thanks to the person after the request has been, fulfilled when you see the person next. Not that you have to do this big crazy thing, but if you see them in person and you haven't seen them since they helped you out, just, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it when you came over and,
Yeah. Yeah.
mowed my lawn.
I can never hear that the same again. Whatever.
Say thank you. So it's always a nice thing to hear.
I do, yeah.
Grateful heart, right?
Yes.
So I think just to wrap this episode, I do want to leave everyone with the idea that asking for help is actually brave.
It is brave.
And there is vulnerability in asking for it, but in the best way possible, because we all need help. At some point in our lives, we're going to be at a point where we need something from somebody, whether that's emotional or psychological help from a therapist. There's just so many ways that people need help and need to seek help, and it's okay to do it. You don't have to feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, that's true. Even if you're just do it and find out and do. I was gonna say do your research, but that doesn't make sense. But you're basically doing an inner research of becoming brave, or seeing who you can ask for help and testing
finding out it's not that bad. You're not going to burst into flames.
Yeah.
No one's going to point at you and say failure, failure, failure. That doesn't happen.
No.
No.
And if it does, it's okay.
Yeah. And most of all, don't do it to yourself, because I have.
Oh, don't self-criticize.
Yes.
Yeah,
Don't
don't
over
do that.
self-criticize.
That's not gonna help
It isn't.
at all. Not even a little.
Yeah. So love on yourself. Be brave. Be courageous. I feel like this whole huge weight lifted off my chest, having confessed this and having talked about it with you.
Yeah.
And I don't feel ashamed that those are my feelings. I feel kind of relieved that I got it kind of out there. This is what I went through. This is why. This is how I am. And this is how I'm growing.
Yeah.
So
That's really enlightening to hear you say that, because I didn't even realize, I felt it, but I do feel ashamed sometimes where I'm I can't Like, I have such a weird thing with help when it comes to like the things we talked about. But yeah, it's nothing to be ashamed about.
Absolutely
it's just
not.
asking for help and not wanting to give it to when it comes to certain things. Like,
So
there's there's no shame in either.
Yeah. So protect yourselves, protect your heart, protect your mental wellness and health and well-being. We got you. But that pretty much wraps up this episode, right?
It does.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It went by fast.
It did go by fast.
Right?
Wow,
Okay.
so much thinking.
I know. Don't forget, guys, we love having this podcast. We love being able to have these deep discussions, but we want to hear from you. And please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button so you're notified every time that we have a new episode, which is every other Friday.
Every other Friday. And follow us at Corks and Confessions on TikTok. We just filmed some really fun TikToks that I keep watching in our drafts, and I keep laughing. So
They're pretty great.
Oh, they're pretty cute.
Yeah.
So follow us at Corks and Confessions, TikTok and Instagram, and YouTube, so you can look at our beautiful bottles that we are drinking wine from.
Yes. And don't forget, we're also on Facebook.
We are newly on Facebook.
Yes.
So if you have a Facebook group, add us.
Yes, please do. Okay, so 2 bad bitches in progress.
2 bad bitches in front.
To healing.
And asking for help.
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers.